we've already heard so many great stories throughout the show, and that was great, but it's in the past. So let's look to the future as we go beyond amazing. As I mentioned, Spidey's 60th anniversary celebration is happening throughout 2022, and these folks, they know all of the secrets. So as always, feel free to go drop your questions in the Q&A tab as we welcome our guests. First up, we have Marvel Comics Editor-in-Chief, CB Cebulski. Hey, CB.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Lorraine. Thanks for letting us join.
Of course, and VP and Spider-Man Executive Editor, Nick Lowe. Hey, Nick.
Hey, webheads. So good to see you. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, CB. How we doing there?
Now, Nick, you're very formal this evening. I'm loving it.
Was it not the dress code? They told me it was formal. Wait a second. You guys aren't wearing, enough of this. Enough of this. Got to get rid of this nonsense. Luckily, I'm dressed for anything. So I got my Spidey shirt on here so I can stand up. Oh, yeah.
He wears it under every shirt.
Yep. Every day. Got to wear my Spider undershirt.
No, you've got to be prepared. There. Now I feel like we are ready to talk Spidey. All right. Yeah. Now, there are a ton of great announcements that have already come out about what is in store for this year for Spider-Man. But let's talk about some of these. So first up, Amazing Spider-Man #1 coming this April. What can you tell us about it?
Boy, oh boy, there's so much to say and so much we don't want to reveal to the fans, huh, Nick? I mean,
oh my gosh.
I mean, the last 6 months, year and a half, Spider-Man, everything's been just simply amazing, to use the appropriate term. But, especially the last 19 issues, what Zeb and Jed, Kelly and Saladin have been doing, with all their collaborative partners and Beyond, Spider-Man Beyond, have been building to this. And I know we want to stay secret, not give away too much, but do you want to let folks in on a little bit of the fun?
Absolutely. I'm the luckiest Spider editor in the world, because next month for Amazing Spider-Man #1, I have Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., who you just saw talking earlier. He's still the greatest. We have so many surprises up our sleeve, so much amazing stuff going on in there. Such Peter Parker pushed to the limit, big secrets laid down, giant reveals, the best villains of all time. It is going to be a story that you're going to remember for the rest of your Spider-Man days.
Well, speaking of stories we're going to remember for our Spider-Man days, there's another big milestone coming up, Amazing Spider-Man #900. What's going on with 900?
Nick, 900? Didn't we just 900? Do 700, 800? Are we at 900 already?
Fast.
We just did 850 like yesterday, it feels like. We're already at, I better get going. Wait a second. No, I do remember. We are pulling out all the stops this year with Amazing Spider-Man 900. It falls in Spidey's true 60th anniversary month of June, because, I think we all know that Amazing Fantasy #15 came out on June 5th in 1962. But we've got Zeb Wells, of course, our Amazing Spider-Man writer. He is being joined by living legend Ed McGuinness. They have an epic story. You're basically, when you pick up the comic book of Amazing Spider-Man 900, you're getting a Spidey graphic novel with some bonuses by Zeb and Ed, and it is so good. So many classic bits with some new bits too. Like, what is the Sinister Adaptoid? What does Doc Ock have to do with this? What do all these villains have to do with this? What is Spidey the seventh part of the Sinister group? Is he the Sinister Seven? What is happening? CB, what is happening? How are you letting us do this?
I don't know. There can never be enough Spider-Man. There can never be enough craziness. And you guys have all been doing such an amazing job of telling the tales of Peter and company. The more, the merrier, right?
Oh my gosh. I think that.
I have more questions than when we started, all because of Nick Lowe. Now we're also going to have a new title, Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man #1. What's in store with that?
Deadly Neighborhood is a series that's coming out that's extremely special to me in many ways. Not only do I love the creative team of Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas and B. Earl, who've done some amazing stories with us so far at Marvel. This is them taking everything to the next level, really busting out and doing a super big Spidey story. It's also going to star, and I think we've revealed this a little bit, Nick. Forgive me if I'm
no, go for it.
Away any secrets, but it's with the Demon Bear. From the New Mutants, from X-Men continuity. I grew up loving the New Mutants. Danny Moonstar, especially what Chris Claremont and Bill Sienkiewicz did on that run. And here we're able to combine. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. It's Spider-Man and the New Mutants. It's going to be a fantastic story that I think is going to knock people's socks off. Nick, I don't want to add too much more, I know, but
yep. The book is shaping up so nicely. Like CB said, we got Taboo and B. Earl writing, and we got Juan Ferreira on art. Juan, who just finished, as you Marvel Unlimited readers know, the spine-tingling Spider-Man, which is, again, one of the creepiest, most amazing Spider-Man stories ever, exclusively on Marvel Unlimited. You guys have to follow Juan Ferreira over to Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It is a freaky book. It is a scary book. It takes, one of the scariest things is it takes Spidey out to LA. Think of the traffic. What are we going to do?
How is he going to swing on those short buildings?
Exactly. Right. But we've got some ideas for how to do that. We've got Raza on the covers as well. This book is going to be maybe the coolest Spider-Man book of all time. I'm so excited for people to get to experience that in this 60th year of Spider-Man.
Heck yeah.
And Nick, also, I know you brought up spine-tingling Spider-Man, but the behind-the-scenes Easter egg there is that theme song.
By Nick Lowe on the vocals there.
Oh my gosh. When Saladin turned in that first script and it had the song, I knew I had to do something with it. So I put together a tune to his amazing, creepy lyrics, and I freaked my own kids out with it. Like my daughter, she was like, please don't sing that song again. Please.
That just meant you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
I'm working on comics right, but I'm probably parenting wrong.
No, just right. If your kids are a little terrified, just right. All right, we've got some great fan questions coming in. This one from Jillian B. What is a little known piece of Spider-Man trivia that you particularly love? I love the reaction from both of you. What's yours, Nick?
So as an editor, I know that we make so many mistakes in our comics. And one of my favorite sets of mistakes, I've made plenty in my time, as probably all the fans out there know and are screaming at their screen right now. But some of my favorite are the ones that Stan and Steve and company made in early days, when they called Peter Parker Peter Palmer a few times. And they even in the lettering, it even says the name of one of the Distinguished Competitions characters in a balloon in Amazing Spider-Man in the first issues. Amazing.
I love it. What about yours, CB?
For me, it's all about kind of, I've wanted to be working comic books since I was a kid. Grew up reading all of the stories. And for me, it's learning a little the behind the scenes stuff, that we as editors have heard about the editors and the creators that went before, and kind of the creators that we've worked with and all the little things that go into the books, behind the scenes, the how characters were birthed. Dan gave the example earlier about Spider-Punk, and it's nothing ever goes as planned. I think that's the biggest secret of a lot of what goes into comics, not just Spider-Man comics. And it is a collaboration. It's such a great way for us to make comics and for the creators to have sounding boards for us to bump off of. And no specific example comes to mind, but it's just there's so much fun stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But I think that's the magic of comics that people don't realize. It's not coming from one brain. It's not writers versus artists. It's a group effort. I think that's what really makes everything so special as we build the tapestry that is the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, one I'll throw out kind of along those lines, CB, which you just reminded me of, is that Prowler, the original Hobie Brown, who was a Prowler. John Romita Sr. was drawing Spider-Man at the time, and his son, John Romita Jr., another Spider legend, did the first design sketch for Prowler that his dad then refined and turned into the Prowler that we know and love.
Yep. And the other little known fact that I think people tend to forget too is that when the black costume was originally created, that eventually became the costume that was in Secret Wars 8 and then went on to become Venom, the original logo was actually red. So it was a black costume with the red logo. So
there's some good trivia. Nick, it really reminded me, when you talk about how it takes so many people to make comics and it's, such a group, there's so many theater people in comics. And I think it really speaks to what a collaborative art form it is. We also have a question here from Jacob R. How has Spider-Man inspired you all in your everyday lives? And what is your favorite quality of the character?
I think it all boils down to just with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And that the lesson there is also that you don't need to have superpowers to do that. The lesson was always that underneath that mask, even though they're superhuman, there is the human. And it's been said to death so many times, but everyone, through acts of kindness, through little things that they can do in their town or their community, is able to be a hero every day. And it's a lesson that I always took to heart from Spider-Man. And you try to extend on to not just the fans but members of my family, and just do little acts of kindness every time I'm at a convention or at a comic book store. Do something for people, because they're never going to forget.
That's a great one. Yeah, and for me, it's another one that has been mentioned here earlier. Nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Peter Parker made mistakes. His mistake was the biggest thing that changed his life, for the worst for him and for the best for the world, as he became Spider-Man and remember that lesson that Uncle Ben taught him. But that's one of the things that I try to remember and remind my creators, because we have the best creators in the world, but even they need reminders sometimes that the characters have to make mistakes, because they have to remind us that we do it. And it's not the mistake that's important. It's what you do after the mistake that is the most important thing. How do you fix it? How do you take that next step?
Yep, well said.
Absolutely. Words to live by all around. Next up, we have a question from Jared in Virginia for Nick. I've noticed recent runs of Amazing Spider-Man have been relatively lighthearted overall. Obviously had Kindred and a different Sin Eater, but we also had a lot of Boomerang and now the Beyond arc fun. Are there any plans to bring a heavier or darker tone to Spider-Man, either in the current creative team or with a new writer?
Well, I appreciate the question. I was shocked to hear it a little bit, because I feel like we've gone super dark sometimes in the past couple of years. But I mean, for me, it's always the balance. Like, that's the thing that I love the most about Spider-Man, is that you've got really fun stories. They were talking about it before with J.M. DeMatteis, with the fact that he writes these hilarious stories with Frogman and yet then goes to Kraven's Last Hunt. And I know that is our goal. I mean, if you've been reading Beyond, there are some real goofy, really fun ones. But then I think we've got a bunch of moments where you get hit in the gut with an emotional beat that you don't see coming. And that's going to continue. With this new volume, it's definitely funny, but it pushes Peter to some limits that I don't know if he's ever been pushed to. But that my goal is always to find that balance of fun and harrowing, because again, it's all the DNA in Amazing Fantasy 15, the book that kicked off, that 60 years ago put us into these seats. You get both of these. You get the mistakes made, you get the tragedy, and you get the transformation of that tragedy and what he does with it. Spider-Man is all of this. That's part of the reason why he is the greatest fictional character ever created, bar none.
And Nick, what you just said about JM can really also apply to Zeb, because at times Zeb is viewed as the funny, goofy writer for things that he's done, in New Warriors and other books. But you forget he did that Doc Ock series, and Zeb has a real dark streak in him when he wants to tell those stories. And if I can plug a little, I just finished Amazing Spider-Man 93 yesterday, the final part, the finished book of the Beyond storyline. And if people want a dark story and they want to see like how far Zeb and you and the whole creative team are going to take things in Amazing Spider-Man going forward, do not miss that issue.
Yep. It's got
a spicy
shocker.
little tease.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this question from Alex in Colorado for CB. Is Spidey ever going to be an Avenger again?
I don't know. Nick here and Tom Brevoort, the Avengers editor, are mortal enemies. We can't even get them in the same room on the same Zoom, let alone agree on anything. But if I can act as a referee between it, I will do my best to see if we can get Spidey on the Avengers again. It's going to be a hard fought battle. We'll have to talk to Jason Aaron as well, but who knows?
Never going to happen. Last time it was happened, Tom hadn't revealed his identity to everyone on the whole team. Get out of here, Brevoort.
All right, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. From Mike in Wisconsin, are we going to see more diversity in Spider-Man? I love Miles Morales and Gwen lines, and I would love to continue to see more diversity, including LGBTQIA plus characters. Any ideas? Any plans?
Sure. I mean, one of the things I love most about the Spider-Verse, which is the correct pronunciation. I heard a bunch of writers talking about it and not pronouncing Spider-Verse correctly. But one of the coolest things about Spider-Man and these multiversal stories is it has given us so many opportunities. Like you said, you mentioned Miles, you mentioned Gwen, with Pavatir Prabhakar, with who's Spider-Man India, Spider-Punk, Hobie Brown, Silk. We have all these characters with all these different backgrounds. Spider-Zero was recently created. We got all these different characters from all these different walks of life. I'm so proud of that. And it still leaves us with plenty of room for growth. And so we're always looking to find new Spider characters who can represent all kinds of walks of life, and be that world outside your window.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's well said, Nick. The Marvel Universe is the world outside your window. And, from the start with what Stan was doing and everything that we've built on since, we're just going to continue to grow and make sure that no matter where you're from or what your background is, that you'll see yourself reflected in multiple characters across not just the Spider-Man universe, but across all the Marvel universe in every book that we publish.
I love that. And I mean, Spider-Man is our ultimate everyman. I think that's why so many of us fell in love with him as a character. Now, we could not end our chat without an announcement. So what news is burning a hole in your pocket that you can share with us?
Well, I think we have a very special announcement, especially for the people who are on the event today. You're all subscribers to the Marvel Universe, to Marvel Unlimited here, and we have been doing a lot recently with vertical comics, with the Infinity Comics, as we call them. You've seen everything from Jeff the Land Shark to all the stuff that Nick was just talking about, spine-tingling Spider-Man, to the Hulkling and Wiccan book that we've been putting out. These are stories that are set in continuity, very important to the continuing myth and the tapestry that we continue to build at Marvel. But Nick, you want to give them the news?
Absolutely. I would love to, because I think I'm one of the only people who can pronounce it. We have a brand new Infinity comic coming up. It is called Spider-Verse Unlimited. It is a new weekly Spider-Man feature on Marvel Unlimited. It kicks off with a done-in-one story written by Anthony Piper, who recently did the Devil's Reign Spider-Man book, if you've read it, with art by Bruno Oliveira. This time we do talk about Bruno, and colors by Pete Pentazis, and letters by Joe Sabino. It's a fantastic primer for what this Spider-Man, what the Spider-Verse Unlimited comic is. We see a Peter Parker story, but we also see shades of that multiverse. Coming up right after that is a very Miles-centric story by a writer named Jay Holtham, who currently writes for The Handmaid's Tale, which is, maybe the saddest show on TV, but it's so good. And with art by Nate Stockman. It's got Miles especially, but it also has Peter and Gwen in it, and one of my favorite villains, the Beetle. And after that, we've got all kinds of stuff coming down the road. Would you maybe want to see a little more Silk? Would you want to see a little bit of Penny Parker and her giant robot spider? Would you want to see anything? Anything's on the table. You don't know what's going to happen because it is the Spider-Verse.
You never know what's going to happen. Of course, everyone should keep your eyes on Marvel.com and Marvel's social channels for more Spidey news throughout the year. And of course, thank you, Nick. Thank you, CB, so much for hanging out with us and talking about Spider-Man's future.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thanks to all the webheads out there.